All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome. If you are new to me, I'm Dr. Latoya Davis, and this is Soul Aligned Living. Love to talk about all things spirituality, Akashic Records, ancestral lineage healing, universal laws. But today, I actually want to talk about spiritual fear mongering. Like the internet, I know I say it in my videos, like the internet is a wonderful place and it's a dangerous place, right? The amount of misinformation that I see kind of come across my social media timeline, less on YouTube actually, than I do kind of in just the general social media feeds, right? The Facebooks, the TikToks, um, Instagrams, that type of thing. But I wanted to just, I don't know, talk a little bit about it. I really don't have a direction, so we're going to see what comes up, all right? So go ahead and do me a favor, like, subscribe, share as we get into this video. As always, if you have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat and I will absolutely answer you in the comments, all right? And sometimes those questions spark another video, so I am always here for the questions. So, one of the things that is really important to me in my work is empowering. I should probably learn how to say the word right. Is giving people the ability to understand that you have the capacity to create the life that you want. You have authority, you have the ability, you have been granted all of the things that you need to create the life in the existence that you want. Why is that important for us to understand? It's important to understand that because if you understand that, you don't give into the irrational fear mongering that is happening out in these spiritual streets. Now, let me be clear. There is some shady stuff. People be people be doing some shady things. And I know because one, I have clients that come to me that we end up kind of having to backtrack what has happened and investigate things. I know because part of the reason that I have taken the stands and the positions that I take as it relates to particularly women in spiritual traditions and spaces comes from my experience and what I saw and what I witnessed of women being taken advantage of under the auspice or under the name of religion, right? Or some spiritual leader or spiritual teacher, right? So I do not want to discount that there are unscrupulous things that are happening out here in these spiritual streets. Okay. You will never hear me discount that. But every single time, I'm going to bring you back to your power. Every single time, I'm going to bring you back to your power, right? Without fail, there has not been a single client that I've had that when we've kind of gone back in and renegotiated and figured out, the only reason we got there to the point where the person had been given the ability to even create the havoc was because that person came out of their power, right? That person diminished their own internal knowing to someone else. They let someone else's authority or position or title or perceived position or title or authority, right, supersede that knowing and that internal nudge that said, nah, sis, this don't make sense, right? So the reason the fear mongering continues to work is because when you're reading or you're listening to these things out in the internet, your psyche is saying, wait a minute, there are people out there trying to do me harm. There are people out there who are intentionally setting me up to do these things versus putting yourself in the position and the mindset to say, I only attract people that mean me well. Yep, there are people that are doing crazy shit out there. I only attract people that mean me well. I am not available for anyone or anything that does not serve my best and highest good. I cancel and I release all things that are meant to harm me. What does that do? What does that type of thinking do? It starts to create within the energetic system, right? I talk about the beacon. I don't remember what video that was where we talked about like the beacon that we put out, right? But now what I'm doing is I'm sending out the energetic beacon that says, oh, wait, I must find the person that matches the frequency and the thoughts and the vibrations that she's sending out. But if the vibration and the thoughts and the frequency that I'm sending out is one that is rooted in fear, is one that is coming from this place of me being helpless and hopeless and me being in victim mode, remember, the universe has to match the frequency that you were, the vibration, the thing that comes back has to match the thing that you sent out. Okay? It was the law of vibration video. So if you're interested kind of going into that, there are two videos. One was just the law of vibration and the other one was the Akashic records and the law of vibration. So you can check those videos out. But the thing that goes out, what comes back has to match what was sent out. So if what you're sending out is responding to or is in resonance with the fear mongering, then that's what you're going to get back. Now, let's talk about the people, because again, people doing some crazy stuff out here, right? People doing some crazy stuff out here. So what happens if you go to somebody for whatever and they tell you something that just absolutely does not sit right with your spirit, right? Everybody, the whole team back here is shouting, that don't make no sense, get up, run, leave, right? Ignore them, whatever, right? This is where I feel like our conditioning, particularly for women, right? And I'm not saying again that this doesn't happen to men. My audience, my focus, the work that I do is primarily geared towards women. So this is the lens that I'm speaking through. Our conditioning tells us that it is more important to be polite and to be considerate and to not be seen as rude than it is for us to lean into self-preservation, right? So whole team screaming, nah, sis, this ain't it. Get up, run, don't listen, right? The person in front of you, perceived authority, because one, they may have a title, they may have some type of connection to spirituality and intuition that you feel that you don't have, which is a non-truth, right? Because we all have the ability and the capacity to connect with source and receive divine information 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, right? But neither here nor there. So perception, this person that is giving you the information is in a position or in a place that is higher or better than you. So then because of that, conditioning has said you will defer to the information that is coming in. Even if it don't make sense, I'm going to follow through. And I'm saying at the point that the spirit says, nah, sis, this ain't it, I need you to pause. Nah, sis is saying it. Oh, okay. Right. And sometimes it is better to just finish. Like if it's just a reading or whatever. And when they say, and come back and we can do boom, 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 and boom. Okay, I'll think about it. No, thank you. I'm going to go get a second opinion. Like whatever feels comfortable or safe kind of in that moment, go with that. But don't just follow through because that's what you think you are expected to do. Know that you always have the right to say no. No, thank you. Right? Nothing's going to happen to you. There will be no smiting because you didn't follow through with this spiritual authority's directive. It doesn't work like that. Okay? Now, I once had a question during a live that said it was about destiny stealing. And I answered it in the live. And this was one question that I always wish I had kind of gone back to, because the person said, I don't remember the exact question, but it was about maybe like, what are my thoughts on destiny, or can somebody steal my destiny or something like that. And basically I said, no, right? Like, what? No. But then, because the way the universe positions stuff, right? I saw that this was a trend or a fad, or this talking about this idea of destiny swapping was something that was kind of circulating prior to her question. I mean, I understand this from like a spiritual, I understand it from a working standpoint of people who try to do these workings, right? Um, and who cause conflict with people's path and with people's destiny. So I understand that. But I didn't recognize that this conversation had kind of popped up into pop or mainstream culture as it relates to spirituality. So after she asked the question, I gave the answer. I started to see a lot more instances of people having this conversation about destiny swapping. And my original answer remains the same. One, what you send out, right? The energy and the beacon and the frequency that you send out will always be matched. So again, if my energy and my frequency and what I believe and know to be true says that I'm a divine being and I am responsible for the creation of my life, then for me that has to be true across the board all the time, right? The when I lose the power in that is when I now say someone has the ability to control the narrative of my life. Now, when I lean into that belief, someone then absolutely has the ability to control the narrative of my life because I have now come into agreement with someone else's belief that they can control my life. So now I'm in agreement with it, right? As long as I'm not in agreement and I'm very clear, right? I'm 1,000, 10 toes down, standing on it. What? Like that is absolute ludicrous, and it's absolute ludicrous. It's not to say that people are not out here, and I gotta keep coming back to this, right? It's not to say that people are not out here trying to coerce, you know, spiritual entities to do some foolishness or some trickery to you, right? Or people are trying to thwart. That's the best way I'm going to put this with this destiny swapping thing, right? Not to say that people are not out here trying to thwart the intentions and the goals and the plans that you have for yourself. Yes. And if you believe that people have the ability to thwart the destiny, the plans, the goals, and the intentions that you have for yourself, they absolutely can. But the reality is, if you believe that, they can do that with just a thought. They can do that with a thought, right? We think that it takes all of this. Oh, I'm back here in the back closet cooking up something, and we over here doing this and tying spirits. No, if you are in agreement that something and someone outside of you has the ability to control what's happening, they can do it with a thought. They can do it with a thought. Okay. So, what I need you to do is to fortify yourself, your thinking, your belief that helps you understand that you are the creator of your reality. And when there are things that are happening that are not in alignment with the way that you were envisioning and creating your reality, it's time for you to step in and say, where am I creating misalignment? Now, I'm going to give you a real life example. This was, I don't remember, this was towards the end of 2024, right? And like I had been getting the nerd, like I had been getting the nudge that somebody was trying to throw something at me, but for the most part, like, because again, I'm so clear, like I don't pay attention to it. But I'm human, right? And so I was in a period of fatigue, right? Really extreme mental exhaustion. So when you're like that, like when my energetic state or when your energetic state is like that, negative thoughts influences outside things from people, particularly because I wasn't on my like, you know, affirmations and, you know, clearing my energy field and calling my energy. Like I wasn't on the things that I need to do to fortify myself. So essentially I'm out here weak. Okay, great. So I felt it, right? And you know, again, for the most part, like I'm clear on who and what I am. So I just be like, whatever, be gone with you. Um, but then it got to the point where I was like, wait a minute, like something's really off right now. Because I look back, like it's when the realization hit me. Well, I was like, wait a minute, like a pattern, a normal pattern for me is not happening. Let me investigate what's going on. So in this investigation, realize, okay, yep, somebody's out here thinking I don't know what they think they about to do, but somebody out here thinking that they better, right? Okay, let's go ahead and switch this up. So I go, you know, do all the stuff that I need to do to bring myself back into alignment, right? Do the things to neutralize the energies that this particular person had sent or created to try to impact my desired intentions and goals, right? But then after I did that and shifted, I had to ask myself, where and when did I come into alignment with this particular energy, right? So I want you to know, like what I say to you, I absolutely do for myself. Okay. So, yes, are there people out there that are doing shady things in the world? Yes. When do they impact you? When you come into agreement with it. How do we come into agreement with it? By our thoughts, by our actions, by the things that we allow to come into our psyche, right? So watching all of those videos, because again, what's happening at the unconscious level is it's planting and it's creating the seeds. So I offer that the things that you look at, that you listen to, that you allow to feed and nourish yourself are replenishing, are uplifting, are empowering. That anything that tries to take the power and the control away from you, know that it is not in alignment with the best and highest version of yourself. Okay, because everything that is in alignment with the best and highest version of yourself is always going to empower you, is always going to remind you of your connection to source and your ability to tap into that to create the life that you want. And anything that dishonors that is not in alignment with the best and highest version of yourself. All right, so I told y'all I didn't know where this video was going to go. It was on my spirit, it was on my heart to kind of talk about this idea. And then this is really what set me off. There was a video of this person that's out here flying around. And I mean, she does a lot of videos. And the misinformation that she spews is just like, I don't know if you can see my eye reaction, but that's how I feel, right? It is just laden with misinformation. And people are like eating it up, right? People are eating it up. And the misinformation is one thing, right? If I say to you, uh, I don't know, I can't even think of something right now. Misinformation is one thing, but this is misinformation wrapped in fear, right? It's misinformation that is wrapped in this energy of I'm going to create this chaoticness and this disturbance, which puts the people who are commenting on these things, it's like, oh my gosh, yeah, and then remember this thing. And then, so also let's think of this. If I believe, because the universe has to match you, right? The thing about belief is, I can't think of the term right now, but there's an actual like scientific term that basically confirmation, is it confirmation bias? Um, if I believe a thing to be true, then the universe must show me that that thing is true, right? If I believe a particular thing, if that is my schema, then my reality is going to reflect the things that I believe. Is not going to go against my own, it's not going to go against my own belief system, right? Until I start to question the belief system. And then now there's a peak of a window, an avenue here for things to come in to start going against that belief system. But if I'm watching these things and I believe, oh my gosh, the world is doomed, everybody out here trying to get me, it ain't safe for me to go and talk to my ancestors. Sorry, flashback of the video. It ain't safe for it ain't safe it ain't safe for me to connect with my spirit guides. All of those things are disempowering, right? So what's happening? And the way you can avoid that is by coming to me. I'm hungry, so if y'all hear my stomach growling, I'm sorry, y'all. The way you can avoid that is by coming to me. What is that? That is disempowering. That is somebody saying to you that you do not have the capacity and the ability to do something for yourself. And the only way that you can avoid that is by coming to me. I sell services, right? But y'all ain't never heard me say, and the only way that you can heal that is by getting on my calendar, or by taking my class, or by reading my book. You ain't never heard me say that. Why? Because we all have the ability to do what I do. Right? Will your thing look like me? No. Because I have like my gifts are my gifts and my talents are my talents. But you have your own gifts and your own talents, which allow you to hear, receive guidance, to be able to take information, to take action. But what we have to do is remove the programming and the limiting beliefs that are embedded, that have been societally programmed, that you have come into agreement with, that teach you something different, or that say something different, or that thought loop in your head that tells you something different. Right? And then in that, I'm going to offer you some ways to get there. Is it faster if you go to somebody else? Particularly if you are so much in your own headspace? Yes. But even in that, I'm not sending you there in fear. I'm not sending you to me in fear. I'm not sending you to me and saying, "Oh, and if you don't come to me, then this." No, I'm like, "Hey, here are some things that you can do and try on your own. Here are some versions. Here are some variations." And then even in that, but if your spirit says this, lean into that, right? So if you're listening to me, you probably already know this, right? I'm preaching to the choir, as they say, right? But maybe somebody falls upon this video that needed to hear this in the way that I said it. And I hope you receive it in the energy and the spirit of love. My goal, my hope is that we are all out here able to live the best and happiest version of our life, right? That we are all able to tap into the timeline that says abundance, joy, ease, liberation, freedom, sovereignty, power, authenticity, bliss, right? That we are all able to live in that version of our timeline. And to know that even if you are not in that version of your timeline and that version of your experience, and that those aren't the things that are manifesting for you right now, that putting the reason that those things aren't happening onto somebody else is not going to get you to the version of that timeline, right? Or the version of that experience, because you will forever be putting your happiness on someone else, as opposed to taking the reins and saying, no, I'm in control of this. All right. So that's all I got, y'all. Until next time, hope you're able to lead a life that lights you up from the inside out. Stay aligned, liberate, and abundant. Peace.